Hey everybody, Dr. Ben Atkins here. If you can hear my voice coming through loud and clear, jump into the chat and say hello and let me know that you're here. Welcome to our Clipcast bi-weekly call, every 2-week call, however you want to put it. It is so good to have you here, and I hope that you guys are having a great week so far, having a great month so far. We are officially 1 month down in this year 2025. It's amazing to me how quickly things can go by and how quickly the time can move. We've been busy. We've been busy, you guys. We've been hanging out in the background, doing some hardcore work on some things to just keep making Clipcast better and better and better. And today we're gonna talk about some cool things that have been going on inside of Clipcast. But we're also going to be talking about some cool things that you can be doing with Clipcast right now. You can literally get off the call today and do some of this stuff, and it'll put you guys in a better position to make more money with Clipcast, to build more cool stuff with Clipcast. And so we're extremely, extremely excited about that. We got a lot to do today, so we're going to get right into it. But before we do that, I want to make sure that Zach is coming through loud and clear on his end, and he's ready to rock, because we're going to be rocking rapid fire today. Zach, can you hear me, man? Are you doing good?
I'm doing good. So it's been very dry over where I live. It's cold and dry, which is never fun because my lips are constantly chapped. So that's what I got going on.
I've had to really, rock the chapstick lately because it's been that way. We're supposed to get some rain tomorrow, and I don't know what's worse, cold dry or cold wet. But either way, we got some rain coming tomorrow. Hopefully we don't get into any more freezing or anything like that. But tis the season, right? Tis the season.
Yeah.
So listen, you guys, we're excited about today. We're going to get into a couple of core things that kind of housekeeping for you guys that we want to mention before we get started with today's call. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you guys, at any time, if you have a friend or you want to send a family member over to Clipcast to get them started, you can always go to clipcast.ai. We're going to put that in the chat for you guys. Clipcast.ai. You can start, you can always get a family member started for free. They can check out the software for free and check everything out. If you're a member that's been with Clipcast so far, you know how great it is. You don't have to go to the homepage. The only reason you go to the homepage is to log into the service. But just in case, clipcast.ai, go check it out, and it's always there. And like I said, I know most of you Clipcasters are keeping this a secret. And that's okay too. That's totally cool. You can totally keep this a secret if you want to. I know it's something that we're sort of in the club right now, and not many people are doing anything close to what we're doing. And so if you're in secret mode, that's okay too. That's okay too. I'm glad you're here one way or the other. Couple things before we get started. The first thing is I want to talk about what we've been doing in the background. We have been blown away by you guys using the software. Give me a big number one if you've been using the software. You've been pretty consistent with it so far. You've been putting out weekly episodes. You've been doing things to sort of build the groundwork for the business that you're going to be building this year. Just give me a big number one if you've been using the software. You've been rocking it out. So a couple of big things is a lot of number ones in the chat, and some folks are just sort of getting ramped up into it, but a lot of folks are not only using the software, they're using it a lot. They're using it a lot. I've seen some folks that are doing kind of their own projects. I've seen some folks that are doing projects for clients that they brought on. But the thing is a lot of people are using this a lot. With that, we have to make sure that we have been keeping the software in a place where you guys can scale and go as hard as you want and build as big as you want. And so one of the things that we've been doing in the last little bit is we've been doing some back-end server migration stuff. I'm going to bring on Zach to kind of talk about this, but we've been really, really busy not only prepping for you to be using it at the level that you guys are using it and more, but for some of the things that we're about to build into the software too. So Zach, I'm gonna have you talk about kind of what we've been doing with the developers. A lot of people don't think about this stuff and don't talk about this stuff, but with us, we've been scaling software for a long time, and this is one of the most important parts. So Zach, what have we been doing in the background in the last little bit to get us kind of moved in a place that's better for customers, but better for development too? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we brought on a full dedicated team specific to this particular product, for the long term. And we originally built it inside of DigitalOcean, which I've used a ton of times. But literally halfway through the build, I'm like, we're going to really scale this thing. And so we had to migrate over to AWS, which I'm a big believer in AWS, and their just their capabilities are so much better than the DigitalOcean, especially with direction we're going to go and with the APIs and all these different types of things that we're using. So we've moved it over to AWS. You guys didn't even notice it happen. We did it, I think, about a week ago. I didn't actually even really tell anybody because I knew I could do it seamlessly, and there was no downtime whatsoever. But now we have better resources that we can scale up and scale down as we need to, and a lot better, backups and a lot more access to a lot of different things on the AWS platform itself. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've noticed it's a lot faster. It processes things quicker, and does stuff like that. So yeah.
Amen, buddy. And like Zach said, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like I'm in Clipcast just about every day, either for myself or my client, Zach. And the speed at which it's generating the episode the first time that's gone, like, it's so much faster. But like, let's say, Zach, that you have to reprocess something. So the other day, Zach, I realized that like I had processed an episode or two on a new podcast that we put together for somebody, and I had forgot to upload the intro and outro. And
Yeah.
when I went to reprocess it so that it included the intro and outro, it was like seconds to reprocess everything. And that was just like one of the most noticeable things that I picked out really quickly is the reprocessing is just, it's almost when you touch the button. So like I said, it was pretty amazing to me over the last week since you did that, just to see the speed of this pickup. And for a lot of you guys that are using this every day, that was something that's incredibly important. It's not just enough that the software does what we say it's going to do, but we are very, very focused on it doing it fast. Because here's the thing. I know that for those of you that are using the Clipcast software to build your own podcast with AI, or you're building your client's podcast with AI, you are not in this game to spend a ton of time in front of a computer. Give me a number one if you agree with that. Give me a number one if you agree with that. That's the thing I want you guys to understand. We are very much focused on the fact that a lot of you here are going to have a lot of clients. You're going to be training people to help you build these things. The software should be fast. And so we've been really, really focused on, we're going to be adding a lot of features in the next year, but the thing has to run fast. It has to be efficient. So we really took a lot of care to make sure that we had the foundation right as we get into this. Now, that brings me to my next point before we get into the content for today, which is going to be our podcast cookbook stuff. And I think you guys are going to love this. I talked about it early on. We're going to be doing pieces of this podcast cookbook every couple of weeks now. And so you'll see kind of what this is all about here in a few. But before we get into that, let's talk about sort of where we're going and some of the next features that we're going to be launching out. So Zach, I know there's one particular request for features and one that we're working on right now. Do you want to talk about kind of what we're doing with that and where that's at? And, I'll let you
Yeah.
unpack.
Yeah. So basically, one of the really important things that people have been wanting, including Ben, is the ability to Ben mainly, but a lot of you guys we've had a lot of requests for it. Is scheduling, which I actually learned some stuff with the actual Shopify and Apple and things like that that I wasn't aware of. It's very similar to like how WordPress, how you can backdate blog posts because it's just taking it from an RSS feed, which I thought was interesting. So we're going to give you guys the ability to schedule out your podcasts, and then we need to update our system so that when you whatever date you schedule it, that's the date that it's actually using and not the date it was created. I just learned that. I didn't even know that is how the RSS feeds work. So that was a really good learning lesson for me, which then means you could backdate ones if you wanted to, because it's just taking the date directly from the RSS feed. So I don't really know how that works out in the ecosystem. Ben may know that a little bit better than I do, but I found that to be interesting. So that's one of the things that we'll be working on. The developer's doing some additional stuff right now that'll be done in a couple days and once he's done with that, then he's going to move on to getting that scheduling done, which shouldn't be too difficult. It'll be very, very simple, literally like just a schedule button with a calendar and an actual time. So we'll probably have to set a time zone in your guys' one, because I know, we don't want to just, do it every day at 9 o'clock. And some people may say every show's come out at, 2 in the afternoon or whatever. So we need to make sure we have a date and time associated with those two things.
No, absolutely. I love it. I love it. And so, yeah, you guys, well, the big thing right now, and listen, we have got lots of things that you guys have requested from us that have been absolutely amazing suggestions. So I want to say that I am extremely appreciative that you guys have been putting those things in. It just shows that you're using the software, that you got an idea of where you want to go with all this stuff. And so, we're going to be going, and our first order of business, you guys, is absolutely getting the scheduling done. Okay, like the scheduling is one of our top things that we want to be doing right now. But on that note, we also want to get a little more official with how we are taking your suggestions. Okay, we want to get a little more official with how we're taking your suggestions. We want to get in the mix of making sure that we are getting feedback from you guys. And so we are going to be launching within the next day a full-on feature request board where you guys can go in and you can request features. We can also have you guys upvote features that you think that other people have suggested that you think, hey, I want that first. Because we want to hear back from you guys. We want to hear back from you guys. We want to see what's most important to you. And then as we start to stack those things in, we're going to be trying to give you guys a little more of a concrete roadmap as to what we're working on next so that you guys can see this at all times and sort of just be, like I said, we want you guys to really see what we're working on and see where things are going with this. And so what I would love for each and every one of you to do is this. In the next day, like the next 24 hours, watch your email, and we're going to have a little video / link that goes out to you guys that points you in the direction of making sure that you guys understand how to give us feedback, how to watch for things as they're coming in, and how to upvote other people when they are giving suggestions. Give me a number one if you think that's important and you're excited about that. Like I said, we're going to be pushing this out. There'll be a video of how to use the board to give your suggestions. There'll be a in that video, we'll show you how to upvote these things. And we'll be, as we start collecting this data from you guys and really understanding what you guys want and what is the most important to the group, our early group of people. I really appreciate you guys being here, but what's most important to our early group, we're going to be kind of putting a little more of a roadmap in front of you guys too, so you guys can see, hey, here's what we're working on now, here's what we're working on next. So the first feature, without a doubt, we're getting in scheduling because Zach's just basically tired of listening to me talk about it. It is what it is. It is what it is. But whatever gets us the scheduling in, I'm excited about it. I would love it. Listen, I would love if we'd got that in sooner. But the most important thing that we could do for you guys first was get this stuff moved over to Amazon, AWS, so that we could scale it, period. Like if we were to start to add a bunch of features before that, it would have slowed the software down, you guys. And so we're very pleased with kind of what we've got done over the holiday to get us ready to really run on the feature side. And so watch your email the next day or so. We're going to get you guys out sort of a board where you guys can put in stuff. You guys can, add in your suggestions, but you can also upvote. And then that's going to absolutely help us to understand what the group wants, what our early Clipcast subscribers want to do. Give me a big yes if that makes sense. Give me a number one. Like I said, I just wanted to let you guys know here's what's going on kind of housekeeping wise before we get started with today's content. Okay, good. So all that said, Zachary, we're getting into this thing that we call our podcast cookbook series, which is exciting to me because I think sometimes it can be difficult to understand where to go next. And this today is going to be something that if you are someone that owns a local business, like a brick and mortar business, or you're somebody that has an agency where you are out there rocking out kind of that local business vibe, today we're going to give you a piece of the cookbook that can help you with your local business stuff, but also as an agency, the kind of podcast that you're going to be building. Do me a favor, type in the chat right now and just say, hey, I'm an agency, or I'm a local business owner, or I'm doing this for e-commerce. Let me know what you are building a podcast to support or what you're building podcasts for. And that really helps us to kind of understand some things. Like I said, today, we're really going to be focused with this portion of the cookbook, really going to be focused on folks that have an agency and are helping business, or folks that are out there rocking out stuff for their own brick and mortar. And just keep in mind, I got some e-commerce stuff coming. I've got some weird niche podcast stuff coming that's going to be in our cookbook. I really, really am excited about that. Now, before we get into this today, I want to show you guys something that I just consider a win. And I want to show you this. This is not our agency podcast. This is one of my niche podcasts that we've got here, but I want to show you guys something on the screen real quick that I think will be very, very encouraging to you as we get in this. Give me a sec. Can you guys see my screen right about now? Can you guys see my screen right about now? Give me a number 1 in the box if you can see my screen right about now. I just opened up ClickCast so you guys could see kind of the back end, and this is one of our podcasts. This is our Urban Legends Uncovered podcast. Can everybody see that? Just give me a number 1 if you can see it. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and we're not too delayed. Okay, excellent. So I want you guys to see something that is interesting here. I have the only promotion for this particular podcast that I have done is, I think a few of you knew that it existed, and I posted about it on my Facebook page one time. Something very, very interesting is happening with this, and I think it's happening with a lot of you all that are publishing on a regular basis too. Now, this is not the agency part of the call, but just stick with me because this applies to anybody that's publishing a podcast on a regular basis. Does everybody see what's happening here with the numbers without me having to continually promote this? The only time I ever really promoted was right around here and here, and that was just a simple Facebook post here and there, nothing crazy. What's happening here? Does everybody understand what's happening? Now, by the way, this one with only 31, it is a podcast that I published like Monday. So it hasn't had time to really have its full week since the one before. But what has happened here? Now, I'm going to tell you, I've not always published these as consistently as I like, but like I'm sold now. What is happening here? You guys, there's a few people that have listened that have subscribed, so they are getting notifications every time a new episode goes live. Give me a number 1 if you understand that. Meaning they heard the podcast the first time, they wanted to be like aware of it, so they subscribe. So they're getting notifications, they're coming back and they're listening for more. But something else is happening, and I want you all to really be aware of this. When you publish something consistent that has keywords in it that people are searching for, especially, you will be rewarded in the algorithm on either Spotify, on Apple, or any of the other podcast networks. Does everybody understand that? Give me a big yes if that makes sense to you. The algorithm is going to actually help you grow your audience for the podcast without you having to do any other promotion yourself. And so what I found is this one I promoted maybe once to my Facebook page, and just my personal, not like a niche Facebook page. But what I found is all of my podcasts that I am promoting at a consistent way, like I'm putting when I say promoting, I mean, I'm just putting episodes out, not anything other than that. Literally, I've not told anybody about any of them. They are growing in their weekly listenership. Give me a big number 7 in the box if you've been publishing podcasts and you're seeing traffic show up that you're like, I don't know where that's coming from. I haven't told anybody about this, but my podcast is getting listens, and it seems like the more consistent I am, the more that it's getting. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware with that. With this, if you're doing things kind of the way that we've shown you, the way that we recommend, which is just letting the AI do its thing, you're going to start seeing your podcast grow just because it's playing into the algorithm on the Spotify distribution networks. Okay. So that's that. That's exciting to me because anytime I can get something to grow without having to go out of my way to get it to grow, and it's just the algorithm doing it, I get really excited. Give me a big yes in the box if you understand where we're going and why publishing consistently week after week is incredibly important. Just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. It's just like when you're doing a voice podcast, except for you don't have to do all that work. The software is doing it for you, it's putting it out there, but then the distribution networks, Apple, Spotify, they are doing a lot of the promotion for you. And that's a big deal. So let's get into our cookbook stuff. I want to show you guys today, if it's okay with you, I want to show you guys today a podcast that is an example of what you should be doing as a local business owner, and as an agency for your clients. Can everybody see this on your screen right now? Give me a yes if you can see this this gentleman in glasses on your screen right now. Just give me a yes real quick. Now, here's what a few of you are going to do, because I know you're exactly like me. You're going to go search for Arnold Jackson, CPA in Texas. This is not a real person, and it's not a real person on purpose. And I have to explain what this is for a lot of you. Now, number one, this is an example of how we build podcasts for CPAs, chiropractors, lawyers, things like that. But I wanted to give you guys a little gift today. Give me a big at number 3 in the box if you're cool with me giving you a gift if you are an agency, especially today. If you are somebody that's running an agency and you're using Clipcast to build things for clients, a little gift that maybe is going to make your life a little easier. And I'm going to explain why what I'm showing you is not real, but how it's going to really be a big deal for you. Okay. So when I go out and I go after clients, one of my main things, you guys, is this. I do not want my particular example to be something to where it's going to bother my existing clients. Give me a yes if you understand that. Meaning, sometimes I pitch something to someone, and if I show them something that's an existing thing, if they ask, I'll show them an existing one. But if I'm just like throwing existing things out there, sometimes they pick up the phone and call, and it's very, very annoying to my existing clients. Now, there's plenty of times when I'll show this, but what I want you guys to understand is this. When I show this particular kind of podcast, one that's made up, but just looks like a business to a business, I tell them, now this is not a real podcast, but it's what would yours would kind of look like. Now, the gift to you is this. Every one of you can use this podcast that I'm about to explain to you all. You all can use this as one of your demos. Give me a yes if this makes sense. Give me a yes if this makes sense. Now, if this was a real client and one of the people that you showed this podcast to, called the client, they'd be like, no, I'm not working with Tim. I'm working with Ben Atkins. And I don't want that. I want you guys to have a solid demo. You can tell the customer, hey, this is not a real, this is just a demo, but let me show you what it would kind of look like if we did your podcast. Everybody good there? Give me a yes if this makes sense to you and you understand why I have this demo created for you the way that I did, why I went to all the effort of creating a whole podcast that was just something you all could use. Okay, so I want to get into this and I want to explain all the pieces of this. This is part of kind of the cookbook that we're wanting to do. A lot of people have been asking me, Atkins, what does a podcast look like when I actually create it for a customer? How many of you have had that question and sent it to me or were at least thinking it? What does a podcast that I build for a customer look like? Atkins, I've seen what you use to attract clients. I've seen some of your niche podcasts, but what does a podcast look like that is going to be for a client? What do we actually build for a client? Now, I want you guys to look at this image. This is the image for the podcast, and this is the template of what we use for all of our real clients. What's going on in this that is a little different than your normal podcast cover? This is the podcast cover for it. What's going on that's a little different here? Give me some thoughts. Anybody see anything that's not normally on a podcast cover that's on this cover? It's just kind of interesting, right? All right. There's a phone number. How many of you noticed that there's a phone number on this? Give me a yes if you picked out that there was a phone number on the podcast cover. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? This is what's so interesting about this. When people are listening to this podcast, whether they hear an ad or not, if they hear good advice, this is somebody, if they're in the target market, they may want to call. We want the phone number to be something they don't have to fast forward or go to a website while they're driving, we want the phone number there and them to see it. And even if like they're on their car and it's tiny, we want it to be something that's super easy to pick up. Give me a yes if this makes sense. It's exactly what Rob just said in the chat. Rob said it's a soft CTA. Yeah. So the idea behind this is on a lot of our local podcasts like this, we have a phone number. Now that's obviously not a real phone number there. You guys get the idea. This is only an example, but that's the idea. So this is Tax Savvy Texas. We've got the logo of the actual accounting firm. We would be doing a lot of that, even though this is not a real accounting firm, but this is it. This is the idea. So what I want you guys to really pay attention to is in this cover, we have the picture of the person who's doing the podcast, meaning the person whose voice we cloned, because inside of Clipcast, you can absolutely clone a voice and then use it to do the podcast. We have the picture of the person that we have the voice cloned. We have all the, the branding information. You can see there's a certain color branding to this, but then we also have their name and a phone number, and then we have the logo. I want them to connect this logo when they actually go to the website, when they actually call. I want them to start connecting the branding of that actual business with the actual podcast. Give me a number one if you agree with this, and then I'm going to move on to a little bit different stuff here because this is important. Okay. So what this is us building a podcast for an accountant who's trying to get business in a certain place. Now, the focus of this podcast, this one in particular, is we are talking about business tax planning for people that run a business in Texas. Does everybody understand the value of this podcast to consumers who might be the target market of this account? Give me a yes if this makes sense. Let's say right now you're in Texas, you got a business and you're looking around for an accountant. Maybe you're looking around for a new accountant, and some of this stuff starts kind of popping up on your radar. We'll kind of go through how to do that in a bit, but this is a way that you can start getting an insight as to how this works. Now, just to give you guys an idea here, these are some of the episodes that we've got put together right now. Now, I have to say this because this blows me away. How long do you think it took me to create the idea for this, the cover, the intro, outro, and these 5 episodes? Anybody have an idea? Anybody have an idea of how long this took me with Clipcast to put together? Those of you that have been using Clipcast understand this, but how long do you think it took me to put this together? If I subtract the graphic and the intro, outro, coming up with the idea for the podcast, coming up with the name, coming up with the description, coming up with the script for all of these, actually turning these into audio, that was less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. And technically, this is over a month's worth of content. Now, the only other thing is I went to Canva. I built this podcast cover. I have a template, that we use to build this podcast cover. And then after that, I hired somebody on Fiverr. The thing that took the longest was getting the person on Fiverr to hit me back. But can I tell you a secret about that? By the way, this is what's great. To get my intro and outro done, it was actually less than 6 hours. And that was me waiting on the outsourcer on Fiverr to do this. Can I tell you a secret as to why they got it done so quickly for me? Give me a big yes in the box if you'd like the secret as to why I got the intro, outro back so quickly from my Fiverr provider. Anybody want that? It's dumb, but I want to show you where a lot of you are going. Why did this particular Fiverr person prioritize my work over any of the other work that he got that day? Because I know he had other work. Why did he prioritize my work? Anybody want to know? One of the reasons is this, you guys, because I've used him multiple times in the last few months for myself and for my clients. Does this make sense? Give me a yes. I'm a repeat customer. What I want you all to understand is the more client work you run through some of your providers, the more at the top of the list you're going to come and the better deals you're going to get on things. And so, like I said, because I've been building these for people, now, can I tell you something stupid that happened that was amazing with this? The Fiverr person that did this, Mark says, will we get the template cover? Yes, Mark. What I'm going to do at the end of the call and underneath this replay, I will link you guys to the Canva file for this cover. Everybody give me a number 1 if you want that. Give me a number 1 if you want the Canva template that I use to create this cover so that it can be super easy for you. You don't even have to think about it. Okay, cool. We'll include that. Katie, don't let me forget to give you that cover. We're going to give that to all of you guys so that you have it, and then it makes it a lot easier, and you can just replace the parts for whoever your clients are. Now, here's the thing I want you guys to understand about this. The guy that did the work on the intro outro doesn't know that this isn't a real business. He didn't know that this was an example because there was no need to tell him. You know what happened? And Zach, this is hilarious. He said, and I'm a little slow, Zach, so I didn't even realize what was happening at first. He said, hey man, great to see your stuff again. By the way, I'm in Dallas. And I was like, what prompted him to say that he's in Dallas? Because as I said, I'm a little slow and I was doing 8 other things as you and me always are, right? And finally, it took me a good, 15 seconds for it to hit, but I was like, he's telling me this because this is a Texas-based podcast. And he's maybe a little bit curious about And so that's what's so great is once you start attaching local things to it, people pay attention. And so I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was very, very funny. But you know, we could have literally referred business to someone just by going through our podcast providers. I had no clue that that's where that guy was. So that's
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
Now,
it kind of starts to make you think. I'm like, is there an actual way to now basically create? It's kind of like, paper leads, it's like you create a website, create a podcast, get it ranked and in a local area and start generating leads and selling them to businesses. I mean, there's so much opportunity in this stuff. It's crazy.
it is. And you're right. It's like when you've got something where new content is coming out all the time, like every week, you're going to rank for keywords, period. Give me a big number 7 if you understand what Zach said and where he's leading, the conversation here, because it's really smart what Zach just said. I need you guys to understand, if you have ever been in a position where SEO was something that you wanted to do but didn't want to have to go through all the crap, these things, these podcasts that are being generated like this, if you go through the names of these podcasts, if you go through the actual scripts that are coming with these podcasts, and you're getting to a place where SEO we're starting to get where it's going through audio and video, you guys, I need you all to understand this kind of stuff ranks very, very quickly if you put it into a position where it can. But we'll get into more of that soon. So what I want you guys to understand is sort of how this kind of came together. And by the way, I'm going to put one of these in the box so that you guys can listen to this if you want to. Let me pull this link up.
Welcome to Tech Savvy Texas.
I'm not going to play it right now because it's going to sound weird coming through my mic, but I want to put that in. Don't listen to that now, but if you want to go listen to kind of what's going on with this, you guys can go listen to that, and there's a link for you guys, okay? Now, let's see. Mark says, will the SEO help to rank outside of Shopify and Apple Podcasts at all? Sure. Yeah, like if you guys get distribution on other networks, having those things come up in different places is always a good thing. And it's all going to stack up, especially if you start to do some interesting things like what I'm about to show you. Please kind of keep an eye on this. We can get in and we can do some very interesting things with our description. Everybody seeing what I'm doing right here? Everybody see what I typed at the bottom of our description? Now, this was a description that was generated by AI, but does everybody see what I typed at the bottom? By the way, where does this go? Where does this description go when we syndicate? Do you guys know? I don't know. I'm sure people have thought of this already, but like, do you guys understand where this description goes when we do this? This is the description that shows up in the distribution networks. You can also go in, let me grab this right now. You can also go in, you guys, to each episode. And when you're doing the episodes, you go up here to show details. You can go into the description and you can pop that at the end of each episode. Give me a yes if this makes sense to you. The reason that we might want to do this is it's good to have links pointing back to us, especially from big places like Apple and Spotify. Just a little ninja trick for you guys that doesn't cost you much extra time, but you can pop this stuff in, and when it syndicates out to those, so every time that you are pushing a new episode, you have something else that's pointing back to you. And that, you guys, gets to be very, very powerful. So I put a link in the chat so you guys can go listen to this, but like all this is tax stuff that is focused specifically on Texas. Do you think that with this kind of podcast, we're going to start showing up in search engines? Yes or no? Do you think with this kind of podcast, we're going to start showing up in search engines very, very quickly? Yeah. And the more consistent weekly content you guys have, the better that's going to be. And so we've got that. Now, let's get into like brass tacks here, you guys. obviously, to create a new episode after I've already got this created, I just go to create a new episode. I'm going to do individual style on this one. And all I have to do is just, okay, what do I want to do? And I could choose a new topic and it would build this for me. So I could go in and let's say, navigating tax implications of business loans and grants in Texas. Okay, so I've got that. And we're going to go in and we're going to choose this description. So we've got this description and we are going to submit this. And what it's going to do in the next minute is it's going to start putting this together. So I'm going to make sure I've got my host in here. I'm going to make sure that this one kind of fits this. I'm going to have an authoritative tone to it. And then all that looks good. We're going to save the episode. We're going to generate the script. And so it's going to start writing the script. Now, while it's writing this script, I'm going to make sure that I answer a question or two. Rob says, I'm curious why you chose the state of Texas versus a city like Austin. Well, one of the reasons, Rob, is very selfish. The other is because I started to realize that my accountants usually go statewide and don't want to necessarily be seen in just the town. They want to be able to pull people from all over the place because they can. This is one of those niche specific things that you learn as you're going through it. And so a lot of my accounts are like, I can do anybody in the state. I'm more than just here, and I don't have to be in the same room as people or them be local to me to do it. So I figured that out. The other thing that I figured out, Rob, and this is such a great question coming from Rob, by the way, is if I want to go after accountants in Texas, that is a great example sort of thing for me to do. Or if I want to go after accountants in Florida, I want to give them this sort of perception of what we're going to do. Does that make sense, buddy? Give me a yes at that, just so I know that I answered your question appropriately and there's no extra stuff. Okay, cool. So that's different for every niche, but that's the idea. Another question while we're waiting on this, and by the way, it's already done, of course, because you can already see the upgrades that we made taking place and why it's faster. Jessica H. Hey, Jessica, what's up? How are you? Jessica, where are you from, by the way? Just want to make sure that that I know all the things. Jessica says, where is the training for those of us who have never used Clipcast? Somehow I'm here, but like I want to make sure I've got that. So Jessica, do me a favor, type in your email address and I will send you training on how to use this from the ground up so that you've got it and you can kind of see how it comes together, okay? By the way, anybody that's here that would like a little bit of training on how to do certain things, maybe you missed the past training that we did, maybe like you're like, okay, I need a refresher, pop your email address in the chat right now. Just throw it in the chat right now and we will get you guys a link to where you want to go. But that way I have a tally of kind of who's asking and I can make sure that we get you guys there. Just make sure that you pop it in there. We'll make sure that we get you guys there. And anybody that is wanting a little extra training on this, make sure you pop that in the chat. We will get that. We will get that for you guys. We are so happy to put that training in front of anybody that wants to have even more of a background on how to get started. And by the way, I'm going to be pointing you guys to some cool stuff here in a bit. So there you go. So you guys can see that we generated this podcast, right? Can everybody see that? Give me a big yes if you can see this, or a number one in the box. Yes, sir, number one in the box. And yeah, so the thing that I want you guys to understand is this. Does everybody here understand that I can go in and edit any of this before we process it? Give me a yes if you understand. If I wanted to change what they said, if I wanted to, all of this can be actually edited in a way that you can go in. One of the things that not a lot of people realize, but I do want to make sure that we point out is this, is you can also click on any of these before you process the episode as a whole. You can go in and click on this play button and it will process the audio and play you that section. Does that make sense? So you can literally change things in real time in just one section, and then you can play it to make sure that it sounds like what you want it to before you process the episode as a whole. Now, if I go up here, I want to make sure I've got my intro and outro all ready to rock. Yeah, there you go, Jessica. Perfect. So want to make sure that we've got this stuff in here and you guys understand this. But like I said, I got my script. My script is generated. It's pretty much ready to rock here. Now, if I wanted to, and I wanted to get this episode live, I just click process. And it's going to start processing this episode, and it's ready to pretty much go after that. Now, I was talking to you, so I took a lot of time. How long would it take me to generate a new episode if I wasn't talking to you guys and to go through that process that I just went through? Guys, it's literally under a minute. It's literally under a minute to go from no episode to idea to script to processing. And that processing will be done here in just a couple minutes. But while that's processing, is it cool that I show you guys something else? How many of you would like to see how this podcast came together from scratch? Would you like to see kind of like us do this from complete scratch? Just so you can see like from complete build. I wanted to show you this one and give you this one so that you had the example. By the way, in the show notes for this, when we publish this and send it out, the replay to everybody, I'll make sure you guys have a link both to so you can listen to this, but also I'll make sure you guys have a good idea of, you know, kind of some of the pieces that went into this. So what I want to show you guys now is how to actually put this together from scratch. So we're going to go back to campaigns here, and I'm going to go create new campaign. That's basically our, hey, let's start from scratch and let's build something new. So let's go campaign here. And what I'm going to do is, you know, let's say I wanted to have a host name that was not in my list already, meaning I wanted to clone a voice. So what you can do right now is I can actually leave this screen. I can go back to voices. I can go into my favorites. I can go into clone. I can go this, but I'm going to go to add new voice. We have recordings for you guys. We have recordings for you guys that are not recordings, but we have scripts for you guys that we will give you. If you want to clone a voice, this is the script that you should read into your phone and then upload to the site. Give me a yes if this makes sense and you want that included in the show notes, some of those scripts that you can have either yourself or your client read that is going to get you a good result of cloning the voice. So what we'll do in the notes, Katie, make sure we got that on the list. What we'll do in the notes, you guys, we'll make sure we've got the scripts that you should be reading that are going to get you the best results. So you have somebody, a client, yourself, you can literally record it on your phone, upload it to your computer, and then upload it here. And then we're just going to name this voice, right? So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to use my Chad Elder voice that I already have in here. But there you go. So that's the idea. So let's build something from scratch. What we're going to do is go from this. I'm going to say that this host is Chad Elder. I'm going to just use my email. I'm going to put my email in there so that you guys have that. And then we're going to get into this. So I need a local example. Somebody give me the name of a state and maybe a niche. Somebody give me the name of a state and maybe a niche, and we'll just do this from an audience perspective so that we can do this together. Okay. All right. So let's do California. Let's do California, and let's do divorce lawyer. Ooh, okay, I like that. Okay, so I don't like the whole concept of, you know, but we have to have it, right? So California divorce lawyer. So Chad is a divorce lawyer based in San Diego that has 10 years of experience helping people navigate the divorce process in the state of California. Everybody got that? Just give me a yeah real quick. Just make sense so far? All right, goals of the podcast. So we want to educate California residents on the specifics of marriage law, specifically as it relates to getting a divorce, so that they can make smarter decisions and protect themselves. So far, so good. Give me a yes if this is all making sense and you know where I'm going with this. So let's just say that Chad had a business. We'll just say elder attorney. If I could spell today, at law. Okay. Host location, San Diego. There you go. We click next. There's no explicit content with this. We don't have to worry about that. The podcast category, you know, this is where a lot of people get really tied up on things. Don't worry too much about this. One of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put this kind of thing in education. Okay. Podcasts. So this is helping California residents navigate the difficult process of going through a divorce from a legal perspective. Target audience. Married people that are preparing to go through the divorce process in California. Not something we like to think about, you guys, but it's definitely something that these people are absolutely, you know, helping people out. We want a professional but friendly tone. Unique element. This podcast is specifically aimed at people in California and focuses on California marriage law as it relates to divorce and asset handling. So far, so good? So far, so good? Give me a yes if this makes sense and everybody's following me. Like I said, I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to go too slow. Okay, we click next, and it's going to give us some suggested titles. Now, you can replace any of these things the way we want. So if I wanted to just get, hey, I want some more suggestions, give me a different suggestion here. Let's see what I've got. California Divorce Compass. What do you think, Zach?
What did you say? What was it?
California Divorce Compass. We've got, what else can I come up with here? Divorce Insights, the California Guide. This is an interesting. Navigating Divorce, California Legal.
I mean, I would definitely put the city in there. If that's what you're wanting to get some rankings for.
See, and this is, I want to bring up what Zach just said, because this is really, really smart. Does everybody see how a divorce lawyer is going to be more of a city localized type of thing? Give me a yes if this makes sense to you. Like with accounting, you could probably get away with like statewide, but does everybody understand how we want to have that California focus? But like Zach said, we really want to get into the actual city. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, Zach, I have a really terrible title here, but you know, I'm going to save it. So Divorce Compass, San Diego. Let's see. We could do this like a CSI. So we've got Divorce Compass San Diego. Anyway, I'm being silly now. Let's call it Divorce Compass San Diego. Let's do, I'm actually going to fix this a little bit. San Diego Divorce Guide. We'll just go there. And I agree with Zach 100%. It should be city. It could even be county. Okay, you can even get into the county with this, but we're going to choose this right now so that you guys can see this. And then it's going to cook up some descriptions for us so that we don't have to think about this as much. And so we're working on the descriptions, and these are the descriptions that we've got. So the San Diego Divorce, this is the description one. The San Diego Divorce Guide is your trusted companion through the complex terrain of divorce in California. Hosted by Chad Elder, a seasoned divorce lawyer with a decade of experience. This podcast is dedicated to empowering the individuals facing, yeah, I like that. Like just reading through it, I think that's going to be our key. Now, I'm going to skip the image right now, and we're just going to go next to this. Does everybody see now we have a base of a podcast here? Give me a yes if this makes sense so far. I don't have an image, I don't have an intro, outro, but I have the base of a podcast. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to just go ahead and craft this because we got a little bit of time left. I'm going to create a new episode so you guys can see this. Now you can do interview style, you can do conversational style, you can do individual style. For a lot of my practitioners, like lawyers, I don't do a lot of interview with that. I do very much individual. If you do interview, you could have your main character, which would be Chad in this case, be the lawyer, but then anybody you bring in, any of the voices that you bring into interview, you can kind of make up what they are on this. But let's go ahead and go individual style right now. And it's going to give us some suggested topics that we've got here. So this is already great. Understanding California child custody laws, what you need to know before you file. Great topic. The financial implications of divorce in California, protecting your assets and future, also a great topic. Navigating the emotional side of this, which is something that like needs to be sort of handled here. All of these are wonderful. So let's just go with the financial implications to start so we don't get too heavy here, Zach. I mean, we're heavy enough with this topic, but you know, just so we don't get overly heavy here. So what it's going to do, you guys, is once I select my topic, it's going to basically give me a description. Now, keep in mind, this description is the guide for your script that's going to be coming down the pipe. Everybody, does that make sense? Give me a big number 1 in the box if that makes sense to you. This description that's currently being generated based off the title of the podcast that we, put in there, this is going to be sort of the guide for the script writing that is about to occur. So we want to make sure that as this comes out, and put it number 1 if you haven't yet. I want to make sure everybody here got me on that and you understand kind of where we're going with this and where we are with all this. We good so far? So far, so good? Good. Good. So I want you guys to understand with this, we're going to get sort of an outline. Okay, when this is done, we're going to have a bit of an outline as to what this episode should actually look like. And with that outline, we are going to determine kind of where this is going. Yeah, by the way, normally much quicker than that. Why is this slow right now? For those of you that haven't been on a webinar before and understand what's going on, it's not the software. It's because I'm on GoToWebinar and I'm doing the hosting stuff. So everything looks like it's taking longer than what it is. And so, like I said, don't sweat that. But when this is done, there we go. So we got this, and I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to do a refresh. By the way, sometimes when I'm in here, does anybody see how quickly it spit out the second thing? Did everybody see how quickly it spit out the second discussion, but the first one was? Every so often when I'm on GoToWebinar, for some reason, we get that delay, and it's just because I'm talking and there's a lot of bandwidth going back and forth. Anyways, we got this now, and let's see here. Let's jump into this. We're going to choose this. We're going to click submit, and we are going to be taken to our episode page. Does everybody see the episode page now, just to make sure that you saw that? So we'll choose Chad. We'll choose 15 minutes of link, and we'll choose authoritative. Okay. Key points to cover. And you can edit any of this you want to, by the way. If your client wants to cover something specific in here that's not included with the AI, we can do that. We're going to save the episode and we're going to generate our episode script. And so it's going to go into this. And like I said, this may be even a little slower than usual too, because once again, I am on GoToWebinar. And anytime I'm a speaker on GoToWebinar, it can be a little bit of an issue because, well, we were just before we even got on the call today, you guys, we were talking about how GoToWebinar, we love it, we hate it, but that's just a part of the process. So it's generating the script right now. And as soon as this script gets actually done generating, we are going to have basically the script for an entire full podcast to be done. Now, that's there, it's good. Does everybody see how I have all the sections listed out here now, everything that's been here? What you'll also notice is that each of these sections was a bullet point up here. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? So there's bullet points up here, and it generated what we've got down here. Now, I can check through this, I can read through it, I can hit play if I want to add anything and check it, but as soon as we click process, it is going to start to generate this episode. Now, obviously, I was talking to you guys. Obviously, I'm slowed down a little bit internet-wise because I am on GoToWebinar right now. But does everybody understand how quickly we go from nothing to something if we're not, teaching this on a call? By the way, when I'm running with a customer I will be doing this process with them, typically over the phone, or I'll ask them some questions via email. But it's pretty much exactly this. A lot of times, you guys, when I'm working with the customer, I will generate this stuff based on their information on their website, and I will do a mock-up for them. I won't generate any episodes, but I'll do a mock-up and be like, this is my idea of what I think we're going to do. Do you have any changes? Does this make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense to you, what I do. I typically, because all they really care about is having a show. Some of them have a name that they want. If they have a name that they want for their podcast, you can literally put it into the box, and then Clipcast is going to work with the name that you give it. But that's the idea. So we go in, we've got these things set up, everything's ready to rock, and before this is even done processing, I can create more episodes. Everybody understand that? Because that's something that maybe you've thought about, but you haven't really, this is working in the background, you guys. You can literally get up here and you can start creating your next episodes. Like say, you know what, I want to do a different thing, and it will give you new titles. And so you don't have to wait on the processing to get done to start planning out and building your next episode. Does that save a few of you some time? Because I see there's a few of you in the chat that didn't know that, and maybe you've been waiting on some of this. We built this system in a way that it will work with you, not that you have to wait on it. And that's incredibly important for everybody to realize. You can be working on building the next thing, the next podcast episode, while the system is doing the work that you already asked it to in the background. This is what AI is for, you guys, is to be an assistant that's working with you to help you create the kind of stuff that you want for yourself, for your customers, without slowing you down. And so that's the idea, you guys. By the way, this was done, and we have a nice 6-minute and 9-second podcast. Now, for those of you that are in the camp of, should the podcast be 20, 30 minutes to an hour? Let me ask you a question. For our podcast about divorce law, do we need particularly long episodes? Do we need particularly long episodes? What should this do? What should this do? This should educate, but bring more questions so that somebody does what? Not that they keep jumping around to listen to new podcast episodes. What should each of these episodes do? They should educate them to the point where they pick up the phone and they call the office. Would you all agree with that? That's why these are short, they're sweet. We want it to be something where they listen, they get a sense of the voice, they get a sense of the expertise, the authority is built, but then they're like, I need to know about my specific situation, and they end up calling, or they end up booking an appointment. Everybody understand that? Give me a big yes if this makes sense to you, and you got where we're going with this. So that's the ball game. So it's been about an hour. I told you guys when we do these calls, I'm going to keep you guys to an hour so that you can come in and rock it and then go use the stuff. Give me a big yes if today helped you to visualize more of what kind of stuff we're doing for real brick and mortar clients. Good. I just had so many questions over the last few weeks of, Ben, when I'm actually building something for a client, what do I do? Or Ben, I have a brick and mortar business. How do I use this for my business? So that's what this was for today. So you guys, we're going to put this into the replay section. We'll get this out to you guys. All the links, all the, the template we talked about, this template here, I'll make sure you have that and you can get in. The scripting, Patty, for the voice cloning, I'll make sure I put that in the show notes too. Patty, you just watch your email and we will get all that out within the next 24 hours so that you guys have all the pieces of everything that you learned today and you can go to work. Does that sound good? Did you guys have fun today? Did we do good in the hour? Like I said, I don't want to keep you guys here for 2-3 hours at a time. I want you to get in, learn something, understand how you can build stuff for yourself or for your clients, and then get out and go do it. Awesome. So just here's the deal. From here, watch your email, you guys. We will be sending out all the things that we talked about today. Every 2 weeks, we're going to be doing this, but I'll be doing a different sort of thing in what I call our podcast cookbook series. And with this AI, I want you guys to have things that we see that are working out there. So every 2 weeks, we're going to be doing one of these, and I guarantee you every time you can walk off the call and you're like, I got stuff to go rock. It will also make sure that we're building a place for replays for you guys too. So if you want to go back to a particular topic in the past, we're going to have a great place for you guys so that it's labeled. You can go get it. So if you missed the email, you always know where to go find kind of the archive of the shows. we'll get that up at clipcast.ai very, very soon. So give me a big yes if you had fun today and you're excited. You're excited about using this tool more and more and more to help you build a business, to help you build your clients' businesses. I hope so. I hope so. If you have any questions, by the way, any questions that you guys have, you feel free to reach out to us. You can always go to clipcast.ai. There's a place to get support there. You can reach out anytime. We're standing by to help out. Zach, is there anything I missed today that we should make sure I hit back on, or like, how do you feel?
No, I feel like everything's good. You know, you did a good job.
Awesome. Cool. Well, guys, go get to work. Jump in Clipcast. Go build yourself. Like I said, I'm going to send you out the example that we have of this particular one, so you guys can, jump in and see kind of our Texas tax thing for our CPA/accountant kind of stuff. But because this is not a real accountant, every single one of you can use it as an example if you want to show a client without you having to build your own example. So for those my agencies in the room that are building things for businesses, I'll send you guys this so that you can use this as sort of an example on your own, and hopefully that makes your life a little bit easier. That's the goal of this show every week, not only to teach you how to do stuff, but to make your lives a little bit easier. Clipcast already does that. We're able to create the kind of content that I could only dream about 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 5 years ago. But I want to give you kind of those little extra power tips, and that's what this call is going to be every single week. So listen, thank you guys for being here. We're going to go get to work on this replay right now, and yeah, we'll be back here in 2 weeks with another piece of our series, which is our podcasting cookbook. I hope you guys will join us in the next couple weeks. Do me a favor, if you're going to join me in 2 weeks when we do another one of these, give me a big number 1 on the box. Did you enjoy today? Was today informative? Do you feel like this was worth your time being here? I hope so. I hope so. I got lots of number 1s in the chat. If you've not put a number 1 in the chat yet, I hope to see you on the next call too, because we're going to be covering some even different, like I said, you're going to really, really like what I got coming in the next 4 sessions or so. I haven't planned as many past that, but the next 4, I can guarantee you're going to like, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be one of your favorite calls to be on every 2 weeks for the rest of this year. So listen, thanks for being here. Had fun. Zach, love you, buddy. Thank you for being here and putting up with me, basically. You guys give a shout out to Katie, who is, our support lead. She's always listening and reporting back to us what you guys are saying. Also, when we send out this replay, we're going to make sure that we get a video of the new feature request system in front of you guys so that you guys could ask for features. You can upvote, downvote features, and that's going to be a very, very big deal to us. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. If you do not, if you want to, like I said, you want to share Clipcast out, go to clipcast.ai. You can get signed up for a trial there to check out, see kind of how everything works. And like I said, if you're an existing Clipcaster, if you're one of our OGs, welcome back. And I hope you're loving all the cool little things that you got because you were early. And yeah, I hope you're building amazing stuff. Here's the deal. One more thing before I leave. I want to see what you're building. So if you got something cool that you've been building and you'd like for us to feature it on the Clipcast page, send us your podcast. We'd love to feature you and brag on our peeps a little bit. All right, you guys be good. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you here back in 2 weeks.